She sat on my lap by the fireplace, her breath warm against my ear, and whispered, "Don't move. Stay close to me." Those words hit me like a jolt, soft but heavy, pulling me into a moment I didn't expect to define the winter of 2025. My name's Ethan Carter, a 32-year-old software engineer from Seattle. And what happened that night in my cabin wasn't just a fleeting encounter. It was the start of something that changed how I saw trust, connection, and the secrets people carry. It was early January, and I'd been renting a cabin in the Cascades for a week to get away from the grind. Seattle's tech scene is relentless. Endless sprints, deadlines, and Zoom calls that blur into each other. I needed a break, a place to clear my head, maybe write some code for a personal project without someone pinging me about a bug fix. The cabin was small, wood pan-led with a stone fireplace that threw soft light across the room. I'd stocked up on groceries, had my laptop, and figured I'd spend the week alone. Just me and the quiet. That's when I met her, Amelia Brooks. She wasn't supposed to be there. Nobody was. The cabin was miles from the nearest town, tucked into a valley where the snow piled high, and the only sounds were the wind and the occasional crack of a branch under the weight of ice. I'd been there 3 days, settling into a rhythm. Coffee in the morning, coding by the window, hikes in the afternoon. On the 4th night, a storm rolled in, the kind that makes the world feel like it's holding its breath. The power flickered and I was stoking the fire when I heard a knock. It was sharp, deliberate, not the kind of sound you ignore. I opened the door and there she was, Amelia, soaked to the bone, her dark hair plastered to her face, her jacket too thin for the weather. She was maybe 28 with sharp green eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She said her car had broken down a mile up the road. Her phone was dead, and she'd seen the light from my cabin. I didn't think twice about letting her in. You don't leave someone out in a storm like that. I gave her a towel, a blanket, and a mug of coffee. She sat by the fire, warming her hands, and we talked. Her story came out in pieces. She was a freelance photographer from Portland, driving through the Cascades to shoot some winter landscapes for a client. Her car, an old Subaru, had given out, and she'd walked through the snow to find help. She seemed shaken but composed, like she was used to handling things on her own. I offered to let her stay until the storm passed and she nodded, grateful but guarded. We talked for hours that night. The storm kept raging, wind howling against the windows, and the fire was our only light. Amelia had a way of talking that pulled you in, sharp, witty, but with an edge, like she was always holding something back. She asked about my work, my life in Seattle, why I was out here alone. I told her about the tech world, the burnout, the need for quiet. She listened, really listened. Her eyes locked on mine in a way that made me feel seen, maybe too seen. The next day, the storm hadn't let up. The roads were impassable, and her car was still stuck. I tried calling a tow service, but the lines were down, and my cell barely had a signal. Amelia didn't seem too worried, which struck me as odd, but I figured she was just practical. She made herself at home, helping with dishes, chopping wood from the pile out back. We fell into an easy rhythm, like we'd known each other longer than a day. She'd tease me about my coding obsession, and I'd re-photos, though the ones she showed me on her camera were stunning, crisp, haunting shots of snow, covered trees, and frozen lakes. By the 3rd night, something shifted. The storm was still going, but the cabin felt warmer, not just from the fire. We'd been talking about nothing and everything. Music, books, the way Seattle's coffee shops all feel the same. She was sitting on the couch wrapped in a blanket, and I was on the floor tossing logs into the fire. That's when she moved. She slid off the couch, sat on my lap, and leaned in close. Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "Don't move. Stay close to me." I froze. Not because I was scared, but because the moment felt fragile, like one wrong move could break it. Her eyes were steady, searching mine, and I could feel her heartbeat through the thin sweater she wore. I didn't know what she meant. Not really. But I stayed still, my hands resting awkwardly on the floor. She didn't say anything else, just stayed there, her head against my shoulder, the fire crackling beside us. The next morning, she was different, quieter, more distant. I asked if she was okay, and she brushed it off, saying she was just tired, but I could tell something was weighing on her. She spent most of the day on her phone trying to get a signal, pacing by the window. I started to wonder about her story, the car, the storm, the way she'd shown up out of nowhere. It all felt too neat, like a puzzle missing a piece. That night, she told me the truth, or at least part of it. We were eating dinner, some pasta I'd thrown together, and she set her fork down, looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't just break down, Ethan. I was running." My stomach tightened. Running from what? She didn't give details. Not at first. She said she'd been working on a project, a photo series, and had gotten mixed up with some people. She shouldn't have. "They're not good people," she said, her voice steady, but her hands shaking. "I needed to get away and I saw your light." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to press her for more. Who were these people? What did they want? But another part just wanted to keep her safe. I told her she could stay as long as she needed, that we'd figure it out. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You're too nice, Ethan," she said. "That's dangerous." The next day, the storm finally broke. The sky was clear and the roads were starting to open up. I offered to drive her to her car, see if we could get it running, but she hesitated. That's when I noticed her bag, a small backpack she'd kept close since she arrived. It was heavy, stuffed with something more than clothes or camera gear. I didn't ask, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. We got to her car, a beat-up Subaru half buried in snow. I helped her dig it out, and when we got it started, she hugged me quick and tight. "Thanks for everything," she said. And then she was gone, driving down the road before I could ask more questions. I stood there watching her taillights disappear, feeling like I'd just let something slip through my fingers. Back at the cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd missed something. Her words kept echoing. "Don't move. Stay close to me." It wasn't just about that moment by the fire. It was a warning, or maybe a plea. I started digging, looking up her name online. Amelia Brooks, photographer. There were a few articles, some galleries of her work, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then I found it. A small news story from Portland, dated a week before. A break-in at a local gallery, some photos stolen, and a mention of a photographer named Amelia who'd been working on a controversial project about local crime. My heart sank. I didn't know if it was true, but it fit. The people she was running from, the heavy bag, the way she'd shown up at my door. It all pointed to something bigger. I tried calling her, but the number she'd given me was disconnected. I even drove to the spot where her car had been, but there was nothing, just tire tracks in the snow. It's been weeks now and I'm back in Seattle, back to my life. But I can't stop thinking about her, about that night by the fire. Her voice in my ear, the weight of her words. I don't know if she was telling the truth, or if I was just a stop along the way, a safe place to hide for a few days. I keep checking the news, half expecting to see her name, hoping she's okay, but knowing I might never find out. I've thought about going back to the cabin, retracing our steps, but what would that prove? She's gone, and all I have left is the memory of her sitting there close enough to feel her breath, telling me to stay still. I don't know what she was running from, or if she's still running, but I hope she found what she was looking for. And I hope wherever she is, she's safe. That's my story. It's not a neat one. No clean ending, no answers tied up in a bow. Just a moment in a cabin, a fire burning low, and a woman who changed the way I see the world. If you're listening, Amelia, I hope you're okay. And I hope you know I didn't move. Not until you were gone.